3-year-old girl from Pennsylvania undergoing treatment for a chronic condition vanished from her hospital room in the dead of night. There were no witnesses, no security footage, just an empty bed and a family left shattered. For 2 years, no one could explain how a child under constant care could simply disappear until sewer maintenance workers, clearing debris near the Allegheny River, pulled something unexpected from the storm drain. What they found reignited a case thought long forgotten and pointed to a disturbing truth. Nathan Hartley was staring blankly at his laptop, lost in the routine of a Tuesday morning, though nothing had felt routine since the day Mira disappeared. He barely touched his coffee anymore. The house had become too quiet, a silence that weighed heavier with every passing month. When his phone rang, the number didn't look familiar, local but unrecognizable. He almost let it go, another stranger with delayed sympathy. But something told him to answer. "This is Detective Patricia Walsh with the Pittsburgh Police Department," said the voice on the line, calm but serious. "We need to speak with you regarding your daughter's case." Nathan froze. It had been over a year since the last update. Most assumed it was over. Even the police had stopped calling. "Did you find her?" he asked. "Is she—" The detective hesitated. "A maintenance team working in the sewer system found something we believe belonged to Mira, a pediatric wheelchair with an oxygen tank still attached. The serial number matches hospital records, and there are superhero stickers, the same ones you described." Nathan felt the room tilt. He gripped the edge of the desk, not just because of what was found, but where. "The sewers?" he whispered. "Yes," the detective said, "but there's something even more unusual. The condition of the chair, the way it was lodged in the tunnel. The experts say it couldn't have been there longer than a few weeks. A month, maybe 2. That didn't make sense. Mira had been missing for 2 years," Detective Walsh continued. "It likely entered the system during the heavy rainfall last month, which means it was stored somewhere all this time, then recently disposed of. Someone had kept Mira's medical equipment hidden, preserved, and then suddenly tried to make it vanish." Nathan stood up, already searching for his car keys. "I need to call my wife. We're coming now." "Please do," she said. "Ask for me at the front desk. And Mr. Hartley, I'm very sorry." Nathan ended the call and immediately dialed Nicole, knowing she'd likely be asleep after her shift. But this couldn't wait. As the phone rang, he grabbed his jacket, already heading toward the door, his mind spinning. Why now? Why would someone get rid of the wheelchair after 2 years? And what did that mean for Mira? Could she still be out there somewhere? Or was someone trying to cover their tracks? Nicole picked up on the 5th ring, her voice groggy. "Nathan? What's going on?" "They found Mira's wheelchair," he said, his voice shaking. "In the sewer system. The police want us at the station immediately." There was a pause, long and loaded, and then Nicole, now fully awake, replied with quiet urgency, "I'll meet you there." At the evidence room in the Pittsburgh Police Department, the air was heavy with the scent of disinfectant, trying but failing to mask something older, deeper. Nathan and Nicole stood side by side, hands clasped tightly, as Detective Walsh led them through rows of storage shelves to a steel table laid out beneath harsh fluorescent lights. There it was, Mira's wheelchair, covered in dried sediment and grime, but unmistakable. The blue metal frame dulled by time, the oxygen tank still strapped to the back. And there, beneath the dirt, were traces of superhero stickers, Mira's favorites, Spider-Man, Captain America, Wonder Woman. Nicole's breath caught, her grip on Nathan's hand tightening. Detective Walsh spoke gently. "I know this is hard, but can you confirm, is this Mira's?" Nathan nodded, emotion tightening his throat. He looked to the detective, who gave him permission to touch it. He reached out, brushing the faded sticker of Batman. Mira had insisted on decorating every inch of that chair. Her chariot, she called it. Walsh continued, her tone shifting to professional. "The maintenance crew found it lodged near a drainage gate, about 2 miles into the tunnel system. Forensics suggests it was carried in by floodwaters during last month's storms. Nathan tried to focus on the details, despite the weight in his chest. The chair wasn't rusted. The seat wasn't torn. Even the oxygen tank, while dirty, looked mechanically intact. Nicole, ever the nurse, spoke first. "It hasn't been submerged for 2 years." "Exactly," Walsh agreed, showing photos on a tablet. "If it had been in the sewers since Mira went missing, we'd expect corrosion, serious damage. But everything here tells us the chair was stored somewhere dry and only recently discarded." Nathan's voice was barely a whisper. "Someone kept it all this time and then just got rid of it." Walsh nodded. "That's our current theory. The question is, why now?" She explained that their team was mapping every possible drain and access point within a 5-mile radius. They had also flagged the serial number in case any other medical equipment turned up nearby. A knock interrupted them. A uniformed officer poked in. "Detective, the medical consultant is here." Walsh turned to Nathan and Nicole. "I asked a specialist to examine the equipment. Someone who knew Mira's condition well, Dr. Kellner, her pulmonologist." Nathan remembered him clearly, calm, thorough, always kind. During those long hospital months, Dr. Kellner had been a voice of reason and reassurance. He entered the room wearing a neat gray suit, his expression soft but focused. "Mr. and Mrs. Hartley," he said, meeting their eyes. "I came as soon as I heard. I'm deeply sorry." Nicole managed a quiet, "Thank you." He put on gloves and leaned over the table, inspecting the oxygen tank with the care of someone who knew exactly what to look for: the gauge, the regulator, the valves. Every detail might hold a clue, and what he found next would change everything. "This is definitely the same model we used for Mira at the hospital," Dr. Kellner said, his gloved fingers tracing the oxygen tank's valve. He paused, inspecting it closely. The seal's been broken, and not long ago. If it had been untouched for 2 years, there would be a clear oxidation ring. But this, I'd say someone opened it in the last few months. Detective Walsh looked up from her notes. "So, it was in use?" "Yes," Kellner replied. "The pressure gauge is nearly empty. That's consistent with active use, not storage." He looked at Nathan and Nicole. "I know this only leads to more questions. I wish I had more answers." Nathan stared at the chair, his thoughts unraveling. Someone had taken his daughter, kept her somewhere, used her equipment, and then, just now, discarded it. "What does this mean?" Nicole asked quietly. "Are you saying someone's had her all this time?" Detective Walsh's expression turned somber. "We can't confirm that yet. But the evidence does suggest the equipment wasn't abandoned until very recently. In cases like this," she added carefully, "items are often discarded when someone is preparing to leave, or when—" She stopped. "When the victim is no longer alive," Nathan said, his voice brittle. The words clung in the air like dust. Walsh nodded slowly. "That's one possibility we have to consider. They would need to reopen everything, interview past staff, comb through visitor logs, recheck old timelines, and Dr. Kellner would be asked to review all of Mira's past treatment records." "Of course," he said gently. "I'll help in any way I can. Mira, she was remarkable, stronger than most adults I've met." As they prepared to leave the station, Nathan looked once more at the wheelchair, grime-covered, scarred, but still hers, and someone out there had held onto it for 2 full years, used it, then tried to erase it. But why now? Back home, the house was still. Nicole had gone to bed, emotionally drained. Her next night shift loomed, but Nathan couldn't sleep. He stood in the spare room, the one they'd converted into a medical supply space during Mira's treatment, and just looked. Shelves of unopened pediatric masks, tubing, saline, medications, some nearing expiration, others still usable. They had kept everything, waiting for her to come back. Today, that hope felt thinner. He began sorting the supplies, expired and still viable. What could be donated, he boxed up. It felt like surrender, but it also felt like someone else might still be helped. By early afternoon, 3 boxes were filled. There was a pharmacy on Grant Street that accepted medical donations. Nathan loaded the boxes into his trunk and made the short drive across town. The store was busy, unusually so for a Tuesday. As he rounded the corner near the vitamin aisle, his path suddenly crossed with a cart full of medical gear. "Oh, sorry," Nathan started, then stopped. It was Dr. Kellner. The doctor looked up, surprised, then offered a warm smile. "Mr. Hartley, I didn't expect to see you here. I'm dropping off some of Mira's unused supplies," Nathan said, gesturing to the boxes. "Didn't want them to go to waste." "That's incredibly kind," the doctor said. "Not easy, I know." Nathan glanced at the cart. Several portable oxygen tanks, identical to Mira's emergency backups. "Stocking up?" Kellner nodded. "Trying to. Supply chain issues have made things complicated. These portable units help us move patients between departments. Sometimes we rely on places like this when our regular vendors fall short." "I didn't know hospitals used retail pharmacies," Nathan noted. "Not ideal," Kellner admitted, "but sometimes it's necessary." He paused, his expression softening. "How are you holding up? After this morning?" Nathan exhaled slowly. "Honestly, it's been hard. The not knowing, it messes with you." "I can imagine," Kellner said. "Mira, that smile of hers lit up the entire wing. She had something special." He glanced at his watch. "I should get these back, but truly, if you ever need anything, even just to talk about her, don't hesitate to reach out." Nathan nodded, grateful for the moment of connection, but the question still echoed in his mind, louder than ever. Who had kept his daughter's wheelchair for 2 years, and why did they just now let it go? "Thank you again," Nathan said, "for this morning, for being there. It helped having someone who knew her." "Of course," Dr. Kellner replied. "Please take care of yourself, Mr. Hartley." Nathan watched him disappear toward the checkout line, cart full of oxygen tanks in tow. Then he turned toward the pharmacy counter. A young pharmacist with gentle eyes greeted him and began scanning each item. "These supplies will really help," she said sincerely. "Pediatric CF gear is always in short supply." As Nathan signed the donation forms, his mind kept drifting back to those oxygen tanks. On the surface, what Kellner said made sense. Hospitals had faced constant supply issues since the pandemic. They had to get creative, but something still felt off. Driving home, Nathan felt marginally lighter. It was the first time in months that doing something, even something small, felt right. Nicole was still asleep upstairs when he got back. He made a sandwich and sat at the kitchen table, trying to process everything from that morning. The wheelchair, the storm drains, the implications. Then his phone buzzed with a text. "Leaving for shift in 20. Dinner's in the fridge. Try to get some rest. Love you." 20 minutes later, he heard her moving around. She came downstairs in her scrubs, travel mug in hand. "You went out?" she asked, spotting his car keys. "I dropped off some of Mira's old supplies at CVS," he said. "A few were nearing expiration." She nodded silently, understanding without needing details. Then Nathan added, "I ran into Dr. Kellner there. He said he was buying oxygen tanks for the hospital." Nicole froze mid-pour. "That's strange," she said slowly. "Hospitals follow strict supply procedures. Everything medical has to come from certified channels. There's liability, insurance, chain of custody, all of that." She shrugged, finishing her coffee. "Unless it was a last-minute shortage or something. But usually they'd send a junior staffer, not a senior physician." Nathan thought back to the doctor's cart. Portable tanks, stacked neatly, the same kind Mira had once used. Kellner hadn't seemed out of place, but he had looked tired, distracted maybe. Still, it was probably nothing. Nicole kissed him goodbye at the door. "Don't wait up. It's going to be a long night." 2 nurses called out, and just like that he was alone again. The silence pressed in around him. He tried watching TV but couldn't focus. His thoughts kept returning to the chair in the evidence room, to Detective Walsh's warning about how people get rid of things when they're trying to move on or hide something. Nathan wandered into the home office. In the corner, a locked filing cabinet held every document they'd collected since Mira's disappearance. Reports, statements, records, all of it. He pulled the drawer open and grabbed a folder labeled UPMC staff interviews. One by one, he laid the pages out. Nurses, aides, doctors, all accounted for. Then, halfway through the stack, Dr. Kellner. He reread it carefully, though the details were already engraved in his memory. According to the report, Kellner had left the hospital around 6 p.m. the night before Mira vanished and didn't return until his regular shift at 7 a.m. His key card confirmed that. The note at the bottom read, "No suspicion at this time, clean record, respected by peers." Still, something Nicole had said was nagging him. Why would a senior doctor be the one personally purchasing oxygen tanks at a retail pharmacy? It didn't add up. He opened his laptop and typed, "Dr. Martin Kellner, UPMC." Standard stuff appeared. Hospital profile, a few academic papers, glowing patient reviews. Nathan refined the search. Dr. Martin Kellner, hospital history. Now the results changed. A LinkedIn profile appeared. He clicked. UPMC Children's, 3 years. Before that, Cincinnati Children's, 2 years. Before that, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, 3 years. And before that, Nathan stopped scrolling. His eyes narrowed. There was something strange, something missing. And what he saw next would change everything. 4 hospitals in 10 years. Nathan couldn't ignore it anymore. For a specialized physician like Dr. Kellner, that kind of movement wasn't normal. Most doctors found a hospital, built a career, and stayed. But Kellner kept moving. And now, Nathan needed to understand why. He typed, "Dr. Martin Kellner, Cincinnati Children's Hospital." On the 3rd page of results, buried in corporate PR language, he found it. Administrative changes announced. Certain staff privileges modified due to internal restructuring. Vague, sanitized, unclear. He searched Philadelphia next. And that's when it got stranger. A medical board document, publicly available but hard to find, confirmed. Dr. Kellner's privileges had been suspended at CHOP for 6 months. Reason? Failure to comply with institutional documentation standards. No further explanation, no details. Nathan kept digging. Riley Hospital for Children. Similar language. Another quiet exit. Johns Hopkins. Privileges suspended for unspecified protocol violations. A pattern. 4 hospitals, 4 departures, none severe enough to affect his medical license, but all enough to raise quiet internal flags. Nicole's words came back to him. Hospitals follow strict supply protocols. What if those past infractions, those documentation issues, had something to do with equipment, procurement, handling? He found UPMC's staff directory and pulled up the number for Kellner's office. It was after 6 p.m., so the admin staff would be gone, but doctors often stayed late. Nathan hesitated, phone in hand. What was he even going to say? "Hi, I think you've been quietly dismissed from 4 hospitals, and by the way, did you kidnap my daughter?" But that image, the oxygen tanks in the cart, wouldn't leave his mind. Before he could second-guess himself, he called. 4 rings, then, Dr. Kellner speaking. "Doctor, it's Nathan Hartley. I'm sorry to call so late." Kellner sounded surprised, but not annoyed. "Not at all. How can I help?" Nathan's voice caught. I've been going over the old files. From the investigation. After this morning, I guess I'm just trying to make sense of it all." "Of course," Kellner said. "That's understandable. Finding the wheelchair, I'm sure it brought everything back." "I read your interview from 2 years ago, the night Mira disappeared. You weren't on shift?" "No," Kellner replied. His tone shifted, subtle but unmistakable. "I left at 6 p.m. My shift had ended." A pause. "Mr. Hartley, may I ask why you're bringing this up?" Nathan didn't stop. "I was looking into your employment history. You've worked at several hospitals over the last decade." Silence. "Then," Kellner responded, "measured flat. I'm not sure what you're implying. I'm not implying anything, Nathan said quickly. I'm just trying to understand. Understand what exactly? Kellner's voice had gone cold. The police investigated thoroughly. I cooperated fully. My movements that night were documented. Are you suggesting they missed something? Nathan swallowed. The oxygen tanks at the pharmacy. It made me wonder. They were for the hospital, Kellner snapped, as I already explained. His voice was controlled and precise, sharp. Mr. Hartley, I understand you're grieving. I understand you want answers. But these questions, what are you accusing me of? Based on what? A supply run? A resume? Nathan's hand trembled. The silence between them felt thick. I just want to know what happened to my daughter. Kellner's voice turned colder. So do I, but I've told the police everything I know, and if you have concerns, you should direct them to Detective Walsh, not call my office to interrogate me. I'm not trying to... Aren't you? Kellner cut in. Calling after hours, questioning my past, implying things you don't even say out loud. I came to the station this morning out of respect for Mira, and this is how you repay it? The line went dead. Nathan sat frozen, phone still in his hand, his heart racing, his palms damp. The conversation didn't feel right, not at all. A truly innocent person might have been confused, concerned, maybe even hurt, but not furious, not like that. He turned back to his laptop, looked again at the long list of quiet hospital exits, at the red flags buried in formal language, at the interview notes confirming Kellner had been home alone that night, with no one to verify it. Nathan picked up his phone again. He should call Detective Walsh, tell her everything, the past suspensions, the phone call, the strange purchase. But what if he was wrong? What if grief had turned into paranoia? He set the phone down slowly, his hand still shaking. He needed to be absolutely certain before accusing a respected physician of something unthinkable. But deep down, something told him this wasn't over. A spotty employment history might not prove anything on paper. But Nathan couldn't shake the sound of Dr. Kellner's voice, the cold tone, the defensive snap, the way anger rose too quickly. Something was wrong. The question was, what was he going to do about it? He paced his living room. On the coffee table, his laptop screen still glowed with the doctor's resume. 4 hospitals in 10 years, all ending quietly, all with vague explanations. He kept questioning himself. Was this real, or was he chasing shadows? His phone buzzed. A message from Nicole. Chaos here. 2 more nurses out. Might be home later than planned. Don't wait up. Love you. He typed back, be safe. Love you too. As he headed to the kitchen, headlights swept across the window. A car was pulling into their driveway. Nathan froze. It was 7:48. They weren't expecting anyone. He peeked through the peephole. It was Dr. Kellner, still in the gray suit from earlier. Only now he looked different. Uneasy, sweat on his brow, movements tight and jerky, and he kept glancing behind him, as if he didn't want to be seen. Nathan's heart started pounding. How did he even know where they lived? The doorbell rang. Nathan didn't move. Mr. Hartley, Kellner called through the door. I know you're home. Your car is in the driveway. We need to talk. About earlier. Nathan stood still. Something in the doctor's voice didn't feel right. Too smooth. Too rehearsed. Please, Kellner said. I want to apologize for hanging up. I lost my temper. That's no excuse. Can we speak calmly, face to face? The words were polite, but Nathan could hear it. Tension beneath the surface, like something coiled tight. He began backing away, reached for his phone. His thumb hovered over Detective Walsh's number. And then he heard it, the soft click of the doorknob turning. He hadn't locked it. The door creaked open, and Dr. Kellner stepped inside, quiet, careful, like he had all the time in the world. Nathan froze. Up close, the doctor looked worse, sweating, flushed. His right hand was still inside his suit jacket pocket. I asked nicely, he said, calm, too calm. But you weren't going to let me in, were you? You need to leave, Nathan said, stepping back. This is illegal. The door was unlocked, Kellner interrupted. I'm just a concerned physician, checking on a grieving parent. His eyes scanned the room, landing on the laptop. You've been digging, looking into my career. Get out. Can't do that. Kellner pulled his hand from his jacket, a compact black pistol. Not pointed, but held with purpose. The message was clear. We're going for a drive, he said softly. Just the two of us. No neighbors, no interruptions. Nathan's mouth went dry. You took her, he whispered. You took Mira. Get in the car, the doctor said, raising the weapon slightly. Walk to the door, quietly. No shouting, no running. If you do anything reckless, I'll have to respond. And remember, you said Nicole's working late. That gives me plenty of time. The threat hit Nathan like ice water. He had no choice. Where are we going? He asked. Somewhere private. Now move. Outside, the neighborhood looked normal, peaceful. Porch lights flickered, curtains were drawn. No one saw them. Kellner's car was a silver Honda, ordinary, forgettable. Passenger side, he ordered. Hands visible. Nathan got in. His mind raced. Could he run? Scream? But the gun remained steady, and Kellner wasn't bluffing. Seatbelt, the doctor added. We don't want to get stopped. They pulled out of the driveway. Nathan glanced back at the house. Nothing looked wrong from the outside. You saw me at the pharmacy, Kellner muttered. That was careless. I should have waited, but I needed more supplies. Nathan's stomach turned. Supplies for what? Don't speak. The mask was slipping, his calm cracking. You should have let it go, Kellner hissed. The wheelchair should have been the end, case closed, but no, you had to dig. Nathan's voice trembled. Where is Mira? Kellner's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. You think you were some kind of hero? He snapped. Leaving your daughter alone in a hospital every morning while you went to meetings? She trusted me more than you. Nathan's blood ran cold. Is she alive? I said stop talking. They were leaving the city now, heading toward the woods and hills east of Pittsburgh. The streets grew darker, houses farther apart, trees thicker. Nathan forced his voice steady. Those job suspensions, it was about more than paperwork, wasn't it? They figured something out. That's why you kept moving. Kellner didn't answer, but Nathan saw it, the way his jaw clenched, how his grip on the wheel trembled. Something was unraveling, and whatever it was, he was about to face it, alone, deep in the dark, with no one watching. They always suspected, always watched, always questioned, but they could never prove anything. They made my work impossible, Dr. Kellner muttered, eyes locked on the road ahead. What work? Nathan asked, his voice unsteady. What were you doing? The doctor laughed, bitter and low. You wouldn't understand. No one does. They see a doctor who cares, who spends time with patients, and twist it into something sinister. The way he said it made Nathan's stomach turn. The words, the tone, the implications, everything was clicking into place, and none of it was good. They turned off the highway onto rougher roads. Nathan considered quietly dialing for help, but Kellner seemed to anticipate it. Throw your phone out the window, he said, lifting the gun slightly. Or I'll do it after I make sure you can't run. Nathan turned the phone off and tossed it into the darkness. His last link to help vanished into the woods. Good, Kellner nodded. Almost there. You'll understand soon. Maybe you'll even realize this is partly your fault. My fault? If you had been there, Kellner snapped. If you hadn't left her alone, none of this would have happened. But you went home, slept in your own bed, while she needed someone. They turned onto a dirt path surrounded by towering trees. The isolation was total. No lights, no signs of life, no way to scream for help. She trusted me, the doctor whispered. That's the real tragedy. She trusted me completely. The words made Nathan's blood run cold. This wasn't just about a missing child. It was about something much darker and far more disturbing. They pulled up to a small cabin in the woods. Motion lights clicked on as the car rolled to a stop. It looked like any weekend retreat. Quiet, simple, normal. But Nathan felt none of that. Out, Kellner said, cutting the engine. Nathan stepped into the cool air, legs weak from the tension. The only sounds were a humming generator and distant crickets. Inside, don't try anything. The living room smelled of pine and something sharper, antiseptic. The furnishings were plain, but one corner was filled with medical gear, oxygen tanks, IV poles, supply boxes, all too familiar. Upstairs, Kellner ordered. The stairs creaked beneath them. At the end of the narrow hallway, the doctor unlocked a heavily secured door, multiple bolts from the outside. It opened into a small attic room, and there, sitting quietly on a bed, was Mira. Nathan's heart stopped. His daughter, alive, but changed. She was older, thinner. Her blonde hair was longer, tangled. She wore a too small hospital gown. An oxygen tube rested beneath her nose. Her skin was pale, her frame delicate. A medical port was visible on her arm. "Mira," Nathan whispered. She looked up from a coloring book. Her blue eyes, just like Nicole's, met his. But there was no recognition, only confusion and fear. "Dr. Martin?" she asked. "Who is that man?" Nathan's breath caught. Dr. Martin, that's what she called him. Kellner's voice softened, almost fatherly. "It's all right, sweetheart. Remember how I said there might be visitors? This is one of them." Mira shrank back. "You said visitors were bad. You said they'd try to take me away." Nathan stepped forward until the cold press of the gun reminded him not to. "She's my daughter," he said through clenched teeth. "You took her." "I rescued her," Kellner snapped, "while you moved on with your life." Nathan scanned the room. There was a small dresser, children's clothes, medical supplies, drawings on the walls, dozens of them. Each signed Mira. Some showed trees, animals, but many had one recurring figure, a smiling man labeled Dr. Martin. No pictures of a mom, no dad, no family. "What did you tell her?" Nathan asked. "The truth," Kellner said, "from a certain point of view, that she's ill, that she needs special care, that I'm the only one who understands, and that some people, even her parents, might not have her best interests at heart. You've brainwashed her." "I've protected her," he growled. "She's fragile. Her condition has to be managed with precision, and you left her alone." Nathan's eyes didn't move from his daughter. The little girl who once giggled in hospital hallways now sat in silence, confused by the man who loved her more than anything, and no longer knew his face. Whatever had happened over these 2 years, whatever this man had done, Nathan was beginning to understand the full weight of it. This wasn't just about a disappearance. It was about control. It was about obsession. And it wasn't over yet. "The nurses were overwhelmed," Kellner murmured, his voice distant. "They always are. Too many patients. Not enough time." He looked at Nathan with a strange kind of pride. "But I made time. I was the only one who saw her. She was different, so trusting, so sweet, the way she smiled at me." The way he said it made Nathan's skin crawl. "What did you do to her?" he demanded. "I cared for her," Kellner replied, voice rising. "I fed her, gave her her meds, held her when she cried." The gun wavered in his hand. "She needs me. She always did." Nathan took a slow breath, turning his gaze to the little girl sitting silently nearby. "Mira," he said gently, "sweetheart, it's Daddy. Don't you remember me?" She tilted her head, studying him. For a brief second, something flickered in her eyes, something familiar. Then she shook her head. "Dr. Martin told me my daddy got sick," she said, "that he went to heaven with Mommy." The lie hit Nathan like a punch to the chest. "You told her we were dead?" "It was easier that way," Kellner muttered. "Kinder. Better than telling her she was unwanted." Nathan understood now. The locked doors, the distant way she called him Dr. Martin, the strict routines. This wasn't caregiving. It was control. Then from outside, the crunch of tires on gravel, fast, several vehicles. Kellner rushed to the window. His face went pale. Nathan's pulse surged. "Nicole, she must have come home, found the front door open, called for help." "Mira!" Kellner snapped, panic in his voice. "Get in the closet! Now, just like we practiced." The little girl scrambled off the bed and slipped into the closet without hesitation. It was routine for her. She'd done it before. Outside, Nathan could hear slamming car doors, shouts, then a megaphone. "Dr. Martin Kellner, this is the Pennsylvania State Police. We have the building surrounded. Exit with your hands visible." Kellner backed away from the window, rage twisting his face. "You ruined everything," he growled at Nathan. "She was safe here. She was happy." "From what?" Nathan snapped. "From the truth? From the people who love her?" "She needed someone who understood," Kellner snapped, pacing like a trapped animal. "Not someone who left her alone in a hospital." The voice on the megaphone returned. "We know Mira is alive. We know Nathan Hartley is inside. Please send out the child. Let's resolve this peacefully." A soft cry came from the closet. Nathan's heart ached. His daughter, hiding in fear from the very people who were there to save her. "She won't survive without me," Kellner muttered, the fight draining from his voice. "I know her condition, her meds, what calms her down when she's scared." "She needs us," Nathan said, his voice firm. "Her real family." Kellner's expression twisted. "Real parents don't leave their child alone." The gun lowered slightly. "Real parents don't trust strangers with everything they have." Then the house phone rang, a dusty landline on the dresser. Kellner flinched, then pointed to it. "Put it on speaker." Nathan pressed the button. "Mr. Hartley?" a woman's voice said, calm, measured. "This is Lieutenant Sarah Foster with the State Police. Are you hurt?" "I'm okay," Nathan replied. "Mira's here. She's alive." "That's good," the lieutenant said gently. "We're here to help. Can I speak with Dr. Kellner?" The doctor stepped forward, gun still shaking in his grip. "She won't understand," he said, voice cracking. 2 years of routine. Trust. You'll destroy it." "We have specialists ready to help her," the officer said. "You've kept her alive. Let us help now. Properly." "Properly?" Kellner laughed bitterly. "Do you have any idea what that even means? The time? The commitment? The bond? We know you care, Doctor. Show it now. Let her go." Kellner's expression fell apart. "She calls me Daddy sometimes," he whispered, "when she's scared." "Let her go home," the officer said. He stood there for a long moment. Then, finally, the gun dropped to the floor. He turned, walked to the closet, and knelt beside it. "Mira," he said softly, "the people outside are going to take you to a new hospital." "A new one?" she asked, voice small. "I don't want to go. You said we'd always be together." "I know," Kellner said, tears in his voice. "But sometimes things change. You're going to be okay. You're brave. So brave." He stood, raised his hands, and walked to the door. At the threshold, he turned one last time, looking at Nathan with cold fury. "You have no idea what you've taken from her," he said. "From both of us." Then he stepped into the hall. Voices. Orders shouted. The front door opened. Nathan rushed to the window. Kellner was on his knees in the dirt, surrounded by officers. Nathan turned back to the closet. He knelt beside it. "It's okay now," he whispered. "You can come out." The closet door creaked open, just enough for a small blue eye to peek out, shining with tears and uncertainty. "Are you really my daddy?" Mira whispered. "Doctor," Martin said, "you went to heaven." Nathan knelt down, his own tears spilling freely. "I'm really your daddy," he said softly, "and I've been looking for you every day, for 2 whole years." She hesitated. Her voice trembled. "But Dr. Martin said he's the only one who loves me right, that other people would hurt me." The words cut deeper than anything Nathan had felt before. Whatever Kellner had done, it wasn't just physical. He had rebuilt her world around a lie, a careful, cruel illusion. But she was alive, and for now that had to be enough. "No one's going to hurt you," Nathan said, voice steady. "Mommy and Daddy are here now. You're safe." Soft footsteps approached behind him, uniformed officers, moving gently, carefully. One female officer crouched down beside him. "Hi, Mira," she said with a warm smile. "I'm Officer Jamie. We're going to take you to see some really nice doctors who'll make sure you feel okay. Would that be all right?" Mira looked at her, then back to Nathan. Still torn, still unsure. "Is Dr. Martin coming too?" she asked, her voice small. Officer Jamie nodded gently. He needs to go somewhere else right now, sweetheart, but we'll take good care of you. I promise. Mira slowly emerged, her movements hesitant. She kept glancing toward the window, toward the man who'd held her for 2 years. The man who convinced her the world outside was dangerous. The full truth, what had been done to gain that trust, would come out in time. But for now, Mira was safe. The pediatric ICU at UPMC felt both familiar and foreign. Same sterile hallways, same rhythmic beeping from the monitors. But this time, it was Mira lying in the bed, sedated, oxygen flowing through the cannula, her hand resting in Nathan's, though when she was awake, she'd pulled away, still unsure. Nicole sat quietly on the other side, her eyes red but focused. She'd arrived just after the ambulance, having come home to find Nathan gone, the front door ajar, his laptop still open to Kellner's employment file. She knew something was wrong. She'd called the police, told them everything. Detective Walsh had acted fast. A search of hospital records revealed Kellner owned a secondary property in the Laurel Highlands. Local officers familiar with the area helped narrow the search. Troopers hiked through thick forest trails, racing the clock. They'd made it just in time. Detective Walsh stepped into the room quietly now, a folder in hand. She looked tired, but resolved. "How is she?" she asked. "Stable," Nicole replied, slipping into her nurse's tone. "Her lungs show signs of damage, inconsistent medication. Sometimes he gave the right doses, other times not even close." Walsh nodded, then sat down. "I have Kellner's statement," she said. "He's been in interrogation for hours. You deserve to know what really happened, but I won't lie. It's difficult." Nathan steadied himself. Nicole reached across the bed and took his hand. "He admitted," Walsh began, "to inappropriate behavior during Mira's original hospital stay. He built trust, slowly, intentionally, told her the touching was part of her treatment, said it would help her get better." Nathan felt his stomach turn. "She was 3, Walsh added quietly. She believed him. Nicole's grip tightened. It escalated over weeks. When she started asking questions, why other doctors didn't do the same things, why it felt wrong, he panicked, told her not to speak. And when she started talking about telling her mom, "He took her," Nicole said, finishing the sentence. Walsh nodded. He used his access card, entered through a back service door. He'd already sabotaged the security cameras, gave her a sedative, told her they were going somewhere special. "He wheeled her out?" Nathan asked, barely above a whisper. "Through the loading dock. No one saw a thing." Nathan clenched his fists. So many nights spent imagining what had happened, and the truth was worse than all of them. At the cabin, he continued the lies, told her parents were gone, that he was all she had. "It's classic grooming," Walsh said. "Control, dependency, reward, and fear." He rewrote her reality and made himself the only safe part of it. Nicole swallowed. "The wheelchair? Why dump it now?" Walsh hesitated, then opened the folder. Colleagues at UPMC had started asking questions. He sensed the pressure. He panicked again, thought if he got rid of evidence, maybe he could relocate, start over. "But Mira wouldn't have gone easily," Nathan said. Walsh nodded. That's why he never made it that far." She closed the folder, her voice quieter now. "You found her. You brought her back. And whatever damage he tried to do, you have a chance now to undo it." Nathan looked at his daughter, still asleep, still healing, but alive. And now, finally home. It hadn't started with Mira. That's what Detective Walsh explained. It began with missing supplies, not suspicions of abuse. For nearly 2 years, Dr. Kellner had been quietly stealing medications and equipment to treat Mira in secret. HR had been building a case against him. They were close. He knew it was time to run, Walsh said, but he couldn't take anything traceable. That's why he dumped the wheelchair. He planned to relocate with her, start fresh somewhere new. She paused, then looked at them gravely. "Given his past employment issues, we believe Mira might not be the only victim. We're reaching out to his former hospitals, but in cases like this, many children are too young or too scared to say what happened." Nathan closed his eyes. The thought of other families, Other little lives impacted by this man. It was unbearable. What else did he say? Nicole asked quietly. Walsh opened her folder again. Her voice lowered. He admitted that on the night Mira disappeared, he hadn't planned to keep her. He said he panicked. He was afraid she'd tell someone, so at first, he intended to kill her. Nicole gasped, her hand covering her mouth. But once he had her at the cabin, he couldn't go through with it. He kept her instead, continued the abuse, said he always knew it would end badly, but couldn't stop. Nathan stared at his daughter, asleep in the hospital bed, just hours from death that night, and saved only by hesitation, by cowardice. He documented everything medical, Walsh added. Not the abuse, he was careful, but he kept detailed treatment logs, growth charts, birthday videos, footage of her playing, edited to look like a happy, quiet life. For what? Nathan asked. To justify it later? Probably, or in case anyone ever found them. He wanted it all to look normal. Will she remember what really happened? Nathan asked. Will she remember us? The psychiatrist says memories from that age can be foggy, but not gone. With time and therapy, she might start to recover them. And the trauma, it may come out in pieces, gradually. She'll need long-term care, a lot of support. A nurse stepped in with evening medication. Her treatment protocol is complicated, she said softly, but we've reviewed his notes. We'll keep her stable while we rebuild a proper plan. Nathan watched as the IV line began to flow. So simple, so clinical, and yet this routine had saved Mira's life. She's here, he said quietly. She's really here. Detective Walsh stood. He keeps saying in interrogation that he loved her, that what they had was something special, that we don't understand the bond they shared. She paused, her expression sharp. Classic predator behavior, twisting harm into affection, trying to justify what can never be justified. Nicole's voice broke through the quiet. What was his plan, if he hadn't been caught? He had fake documents, Walsh said. A new birth certificate, new medical records, everything in place. He was planning to move states, start over. Said he knew. Eventually she'd remember too much, or get older. Walsh's voice dropped. When that day came, he said he'd handle it. The meaning was clear. They believed he would have taken her life. After the detective left, silence settled over the hospital room, the kind that doesn't ask for words. Tomorrow, everything would begin. Medical recovery, trauma therapy, and the careful, fragile work of helping Mira rebuild her identity, piece by piece, to help her understand that the man she trusted had lied, that the people she believed were gone had never stopped looking for her. She's alive, Nicole whispered finally. Her hand rested gently on Mira's. That's what matters. That's what we hold on to. Nathan nodded, his throat too tight to speak. Their daughter had survived 2 years of darkness, wrapped in the disguise of care. But she was strong. The same strength that helped her battle illness would now help her face the truth, and they would be with her, every step of the way. The monitors kept ticking, each heartbeat, each breath. Proof that she had made it, proof that she was still here, and that the man who stole her childhood would never come near her again.